Good morning. I was watching a video by a guy by the name of Bjorn Andreas Bull Hansen. I watch him occasionally. He's an interesting guy. He's a Norwegian. He's a writer. Writes books. He writes them in Norwegian. He doesn't write them in English, so I haven't been able to read any of them. But I'd like to sometime. Maybe I'll get those switched over. Anyway, he's a writer, and I believe that he's also um, a counselor of some kind. I don't know if he's a family counselor or what, but he talks about those things occasionally. But he's a very thoughtful guy, and he walks up into the woods and he builds a little fire and he drinks some coffee and he talks about what's on his mind. And he's a deep thinker. He's got a lot on his mind, a lot to say, and he says it well. But he was I was watching his video today, and it was about what's happening in the world now, what's happening with the U.S. elections, what's happening with the world. And although it was an interesting video in itself, what really caught me and what I wanted to talk about was a comment in that somebody left. Now, I think he pinned the comment. And as so often, like I talked about on here the other day, excuse me, those who comment add so much to the discussion, especially when they're intelligent comments. And this person left a comment that really goes to the heart of what we need to be thinking about right now, and that's essentially, will you fight? Who will fight, and at what point will they decide to fight, and what fight will they fight? This is a quote from Winston Churchill. I like Winston Churchill. I don't like everything about him. He was a conflicted guy, like so many in the world. He had weaknesses and he had greatnesses. And greatnesses, I'm not sure if that's a word or not. Greatness, but here he said so much that it's just right on the money. And here's the quote that this guy left over there on Bull Hansen's site. And I looked it up to make sure that it was Churchill, and it is. And he says, "If you will not fight for right when you can easily win without bloodshed, if you will not fight when your victory is sure and not too costly, you may come to the moment when you will have to fight with all the odds against you and only a precarious chance of survival. There may even be a worse case. You may have to fight when there is no hope of victory, because it is better to perish than to live as slaves." That says so much right there, and it does speak to what we're dealing with here. First off, the last part, sadly, there are many people, too many people, certainly here in the United States and from what I gather around the world, that would prefer to live as slaves. And so those people can be discounted as far as participating in a proper response, a proper fight with us, and they will even, help the oppressor. They will help the other side. So we're kind of, we're fighting them. We're fighting a double enemy, those who want to oppress and those who think that it's just fine to do so. And you might say that they're on the same team. They are on the same team. They just play different positions. The question here that Churchill brings up, or the statement, is especially pertinent to what we're going through now. We're going through a legal a legal situation, a legal challenge to the way the elections went here in the United States. The points made on the president's team, and if you've watched lately, Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood, they make exceptional cases for the fact of there being massive fraud in this past election. They've even made, if you've kept up with it, they've even made the statement that because of these machines, because of the voting machines, and because of the software that was used in them, the Dominion and what is that, Smart, whatever it is, and there's some other programs that work there too. That it's very possible that Trump may have won by a landslide. They say for certain that he's won by a landslide. I don't know, so I won't say that. But they're making that assertion, and that he may have won by such a margin that he might get up to 400 electoral votes. Now that's yet to be seen. We don't know what's going to happen there, but we do know that there's a fight coming. There's kind of a lull right now. The mainstream media, of course, is because they're in the tank for the left. They're trying to make it sound like Trump is paranoid and the boogeyman and trying to make all types of false assertions just because he's a sore loser. The too many of our people out there who don't pay attention now the far left, they're in the tank for the Democrat Party entirely. They'll never be shaken, but there's many people out there who simply don't pay enough attention to understand what's going on, to even know what's going on, let alone understand. They're spoon-fed this pablum by the mainstream media, and so they swallow it whole, and they just say, well, that's the way it is. Okay. If it does come out to be that this election is overturned because of the evidence that Trump's side is taking to court, we're going to be in for quite a fight. Now, this probably will explode into physical rioting, to attacks, to even guerrilla warfare on the other side. Who knows? But it will erupt. The cities will just go ballistic. The cities will burn. They'll implode. They'll explode. I'm going to make another one on that here pretty soon about exactly what I think will happen. It's going to happen no matter what, but it's going to happen to a much greater degree and much more of a flash if this election turns out to go Trump's way than it would if it goes Biden's way. The thing is that's going to be a fight that is not necessarily going to bring on any kind of war, balkanization, civil war that anybody has talked about, but it is going to cause a deeper wedge and a violent fragmentation of certain parts of society. It's going to make what's happened over the last 12 months in the rioting pale in comparison, I think. Well, the battle, the fight that we would be in at that point, for most of us, it's not a shooting war. Okay, it's not. We have to be ready to fight a smaller war, and that is, as I've said before, the war of information. What Churchill is saying here is that if you're not willing to stand up and fight when words alone, when convincing words, when intelligent words alone can carry the day, you may be forced to fight in a time when the odds are far more against you. It's easier to hold a line than to take the line back. And that's what we need to be concentrating on. I know that I've said this in my own, the last couple of videos that I've made, but because this came up and Churchill put it so much better than I can, I think that it's important that we continue not just to think about this, but to bolster ourselves, to become more and more involved, become more involved in the fight on a daily basis, talking to our friends, talking to our acquaintances, talking to our circle of life. Let them know what's going on. Many of them don't know what's going on. Let them know what's going on out there, and present the case for our side. Present the case against the other side. This is the fight that we're in. We're essentially in a battle of words and ideas. And if we don't win that one, we're going to find ourselves in a war with much more drastic consequences. So that's it for today, but I don't think that there's any subject that should be hammered on more right now than this, and that is to involve yourself in the war of words and ideas so that you can convince, bring as many people to understanding as you can and to soften the support of the opposition so that we won't have to get to that point. Nobody wants, no matter what people say. I know that a lot of people say, I bring it on right now, and I understand that feeling. The horror of that situation would be beyond what most people are willing to really sit down and contemplate to the point to where they understand it. If they did, I think that they wouldn't continue to say that. They would say, let's see if we can win this now when we can win it without bloodshed. Okay. You all have a good day. Keep this in mind. Do your part. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow, and that America needs a reversion, an American reversion, and it needs you to be a part of it. Okay, you all have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.